Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of My Hero Academia. This is the Amateur Otaku Podcast, the show on YouTube where we're talking anime every week, specifically My Hero Academia, or in this case, My Villain Academia. Joining me, as always, are my good friends and co-hosts Isaac Wolf and Leo Rydel. Guys, you guys recorded a different show earlier today, and it was a lot of fun at that live stream. You guys were talking some live action anime adaptations. First off, happy that you guys were able to do a second show today, but also, Leo, just give us a quick summary of the Otaku verse, just so our listeners can check that out.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening, go ahead and come on over to my YouTube channel, Geekly Goods, and you can check out Otakuverse, which is a once a month anime live stream where we talk about popular and debatable topics of anime. Our first episode we debuted last month was actually our first anime, and this month's episode focused on live action anime. And y'all, it's a riveting good time, and we spawned quite the conversation. Apparently, The Rock would be a great candidate for All Might. So check us out, youtube.com/geeklygoods.
He's got the smile, I tell you that much. It would be perfect. I'm sold on it.
Yeah, I'm down. After seeing the picture, I'm down.
If we gotta sit through a live action My Hero movie, might as well get The Rock in here as All Might. That would be awesome. Also, he has a little Johnny Bravo vibe going on in that picture, so I'm down for that as well. Isaac,
you might as well show it now.
I mean, I guess I could, but that would spoil the Otakuverse, wouldn't it? Let's leave them wanting more.
Yeah,
right?
Good point. Good point. And here am I just sold too many.
We'll put a link to the video in the description, and we'll have the card up here.
Yet another equation to my math book.
Yep. How you been, man?
It's tired, as always. Ugh.
Hopefully not too.
But I'm going on.
We have a great episode. I need you awake for this one, man.
I have like 3 bottles of tea next to me, so it's all good.
Sweet. So, guys, this episode we're talking today is episode 22 of season 5. It's titled "Sad Man's Parade." Now, I have waited for this episode for a long time. I actually posted on Twitter regarding it. Like in May, just saying I wanted to see Sad Man's Parade, and we finally got that moment. For you guys who don't know, this adapted manga chapters 229, 230, 231, and 232. We pick up after last week's episode. Twice and Toga kind of pushed in a corner. And what makes this episode so great is that we get more backstory for Twice. He's easily the villain that's had the most development up until this point, which in hindsight is kind of crazy to think about. We already knew that he wasn't even sure if he was a clone or if he was the real Twice, and we saw in like season 4, I believe, we saw the war between all of his doubles, which has made him it's basically traumatized him. This episode, we get a little more backstory of how he hit someone with his car, made him lose his job. He had no friends or family, so he started making doubles of himself because he just needed somebody to talk to. He needed a friend. I loved everything about this episode, how he beats that trauma and discovers he is the real Jin. And I love how we still have the parallel between the heroes and villains of he just refuses to go down. He's going to save Toga. It's a very Deku thing to do. And I love, again, how this My Villain Academia arc is kind of showing us that they all have that heroic side to them, no matter what side of the battle they're on, even though they are clearly still evil. Like Shigaraki 2 episodes ago was talking about wanting to destroy everything, but he's still there and he still cares about his comrades. He still cares about Twice and Toga. So I guess I'm going to toss it over to you right quickly. What were your thoughts on this episode? Because I think it's probably the best of the season.
Yeah, so far I agree with you. I think it's the best of the season. I think they did a really good job adapting several chapters and kind of cutting some stuff down, because I know like some of the Twice stuff got cut down a little bit, and I think it perfectly fit into this episode. I really like what you had to say about them being heroic in a sense and having a character who is so concerned about protecting his friends, even though he's quote unquote a villain. And that's what makes the League of Villains so enjoyable, because at the end of the day, they're almost just like the heroes with different intentions. Like
Exactly.
people are protecting each other. Shigaraki is stepping up, being a leader. I mean, I'm like, this is like Deku and friends, but just with bad intentions. And
Right.
I think it makes it a little bit relatable, because I mean, nobody would want, a friend that close to die. So I think like Twice and his getting over his trauma in this episode really brought a more relatable beat to the League of Villains. And I really like that we're seeing these quirks like kind of like, I guess, manifest even bigger, or just like get even more enhanced. And I'm hoping they play on that a little bit more. I want to see more of that. I want to see more quirk enhancements. I'm not getting into spoilers, but I want to see some more like quirk improvements, especially when faced with near tragedy. I think it makes sense for characters for that to happen to them. It's almost like, what it reminds me of? The Sharingan in Naruto. I know we just always bring up Naruto, but like it reminds me of that. Like, when you're near tragedy, the power unlocks. And I think that's the same way it happens with like Saiyans as well. Yeah, when Gohan saw Android 16 get his head squashed. Yeah, like it makes sense for the characters.
I like what you said though about like the quirk evolutions, and that's something that we haven't seen in the series, but we've gotten it in like 3 straight episodes now of Twice being able to go basically infinite doubles, or Shigaraki being able to decay things without touching it, or Toga being able to use the quirk of the person she's copying. Yeah, they're diving into that a lot, but it's only with the villains. And so I'm interested to see why that's happening. Is it the trauma? Because if it is, or the danger, if it is, shouldn't that have happened with the kids multiple times throughout the series? So I'm interested to see that kind of evolve, or where that idea goes. It does make sense though that the League gets a small power up, because as this season already established, Deku's gonna get a few more powers. So we kind of need to level that playing field. Isaac, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Well, it has a lot of factors involved in it. So much so that I lost count of it at one point. But in all seriousness, this is just a prime example of what you guys were talking about, why Twice, to some extent, is easily one of the most... it's a simple, but at the same time, extremely complex character. And to some extent, one of the most tragic ones. All things considered.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the most tragic, because we mentioned that it adapted 4 manga chapters. There's one chapter that was pulled into this episode called "All It Takes Is One Bad Day," and that's pretty much the entire reason that the League of Villains are the way that they are. It just takes one bad day. All for One finds Shigaraki after that tragedy that we're probably going to get more about in the next episode. Twice was a just normal dude who lost everything. That's something that wasn't even really his fault. Toga was just born with a crazy quirk. And so, yeah, it's kind of building on that idea of they were all relatively normal, but then they just had that one event, that one bad day that pushed them over the edge. But that's what also makes them relatable, because you can see that happening with Deku in a sense, right? Like, what if Deku didn't meet All Might and he met All for One? He probably would be like Shigaraki. I think that's, again, what makes that parallel so incredible. Like we even have the scene of All for One straight saying, "Don't worry, I am here" to Shigaraki. And that's what I love about this arc and this episode, because Twice could have easily have become a hero, especially with the quirk he has. We saw the sea of doubles that he made in this episode. But all it takes is that one bad day. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about killing Yoke for whatever reason.
You know Horikoshi loves his Batman and Spider-Man references.
Yeah, true.
We got a little taste of Shigaraki versus Redestro.
Ooh.
One of the things that we've been talking about, like the cuts and the rearranging of things and events. I'm trying not to dive into that too much because this was a great episode. But it kind of bugs me that we cut out a lot of Redestro's character. And so he kind of just feels like a generic villain of the week almost, where there was a lot of like lore and backstory to him in the manga, but the anime just decides not to touch it.
Honestly,
I don't know though.
Honestly, how should I put it? Oh, to some extent, they are going through why he wants to do the Liberation Army and all that. Yes, I know that, but also to some extent, the League of Villains are the same. They feel betrayed of the society because all one bad day and all that. Yes, that we talked about. So they have sort of like the similar viewpoint, so to speak. So I don't. To some extent, I can understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like it could, depending on how you execute it, just come off as why does this need to be here? Because it could, I don't know how to put it, but it just I don't think you need to put that much time into their motivation compared to the League of Villains, considering they are the bigger pieces in the pie here.
It's not necessarily their motivation. It's just his character, in like the sense that when we first meet Redestro in the manga, I can freely say, because the anime is never going to do this anymore. When we first meet him, we don't know he's a villain. He has like a series of commercials that have been playing in the background throughout the series. And one of those commercials literally played in this season. It was like in the Christmas episode, I believe. It played on one of the TVs in the background because they are a company that's prominent in Japan. And then when we kind of see who's running it and get the idea of, oh, this is a corrupt company. Oh, they're going to use their influence to push their agenda, to push this liberation movement. It's stuff like that I wish didn't get cut. I don't need the motivation on why they're doing it, but again, like I said before, it's kind of just making them villain of the week in the sense that he's just a guy, whereas before that, he was basically the Lex Luthor of My Hero Academia, and he's been relegated to the Joe Chill of My Hero Academia, you know? That's just
I can see what you're
not the biggest of deal.
I can see where you're coming with it, man. But I rather them cutting back on his stuff than the personal the backstories of the leagues. Honestly,
I didn't have to cut back if we just got rid of that filler episode, but I digress.
You can only add so much in one episode, but I see what I agree with you that that filler episode was pointless. If they need to have a filler episode, they should have either let them be badass throughout the entire episode or do that special one-shot manga that they did for the movie and had that as the filler episode. Why that wasn't a filler episode, that was just weird.
Yeah, but again, that would have been a great episode, though. You're right. Now that I think about it, that would have been cool. I guess I am looking forward to Shigaraki versus Redestro, though. I like how Twice kind of unlocked that power, and he's the toughest dude in the series now because he had his own army essentially, and he was able to make copies of the League to go up into that building and find the boss, right? To find Redestro. And again, the pacing of these episodes, they've been doing about 4 chapters an episode. It's just builds and builds and builds, and it's not dragging too long. That moment was great when we have Shigaraki. Man, it's just great when Shigaraki decays the building.
Oh my
I think
god.
We're in for a treat, man.
Yeah, that, I mean, honestly, kind of commenting on the villain of the week thing, I don't think I necessarily need Redestro to be this like well elaborated villain because Shigaraki is that. Like, I want Shigaraki to be the main villain of My Hero Academia. So I think I kind of look at Redestro and I kind of am like, well, he is a bit of a villain of the week. Like, he's kind of like a villain for now in Shigaraki's way, as we've also seen in the My Hero Academia second movie. Isaac, I know you've seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, Shigaraki is like laying over the bodies of these villains, laughing at them like, I'm the guy. You tried, but it's me. So, I mean, I kind of am okay with Redestro getting a little bit of a sidestep here, but I think we're going to get some more of his intentions next week. But they kind of gave us like a pinch and just like left it at that.
I guess my thing is, yeah, I'm with you that Shigaraki's clearly the villain of the entire series, but in this arc, Shigaraki's the hero. And so I kind of just wish the guy he was going up against, especially since we already know they have information that they put in this season and just didn't follow up on. That was kind of weird. That's all. But that fight next episode is going to be great.
Yeah, they should have just cut back on that tournament arc. That has been the thorn in this entire season. I'm sorry, but that's clearly the case at this point.
Well, that is also the worst arc in the entire manga. So from here on out, I think things will be good.
Are you talking about the tournament arc?
Class A versus Class B.
Yeah, I agree. This was like a slow point in the manga up until the Black Whip and Bakugo's super badass moment. But yeah, like the anime is taking a really good turn right now. If you're watching the anime, like you're gonna, especially by now, I'm sure you're loving what's happening. You're gonna love it even more in next episode and the one after that. Like some shit's about to happen.
Yeah, I also this is just because we watched the previews. I just kind of love how supportive Deku is of Shigaraki in the previews. It's like the villains are gonna face the Meta Liberation Army. Go beyond. It's just like, it's kind of funny that we have Deku over here just kind of rooting for the villains to win this. It's kind of like us as the viewer just kind of changing mindsets, changing gears. And now it's like, you're rooting for Toga to stab as many people as possible. Who saw that coming?
And they, y'all. Okay, let me go ahead and shut that down. I was about to roll up into a spoiler, but I will say they are really doing a good job of storytelling with the villain arc so far. Like, honestly, I know they're condensing chapters, but it's flowing together very, very well.
It is. You're right. And it goes back to one of my complaints of My Hero Academia's anime as a whole. I don't need to see All Might giving Deku the quirk one for all. I've seen it in episode 1 and a million times after that. I think the biggest advantage of the My Villain Academia arc is that they don't rely on flashbacks. They're just telling the story because there's nothing to flashback to, you know? Whereas we constantly flash back to Endeavor fighting the high end. They flash back to that like 4 different points this season. And that just happened last season. And so I feel like the flow has been really good. The pacing has been great. Even if they are condensing parts, on the whole, as an anime, it's working. It may not be what you wanted if you read the manga, but if you haven't read the manga, you don't notice, you know, because you don't know you're missing anything. And it's just flowing really well. And I kind of hope they keep that same pacing and structure for the next season. Because thinking about how those events play out, I don't even know where you end next season, honestly. Sorry.
Sorry,
fall
my
down in here.
mic wasn't unmuted. But
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Next season is going to be an interesting start. I kind of think they're going to jump right into a little event pretty quickly in the next season. Just didn't put that there. I don't think they're going to waste too much time between this arc and the next.
Yeah, this arc, I think this arc only has like 2 episodes left, and then they're going to tease the following season and the finale. What about you, Isaac? Any thoughts there?
Well, first and foremost, flashbacks can be annoying, but let's also face the facts. It's a good way of saving money and production time.
Yeah,
But,
I think I'd rather wait the extra 7 months or whatever.
yeah, but you know, it's not My Hero is not a manga and anime. It's a franchise as a whole, and then you need to have it go like clockwork. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, I think you guys are pretty spot on. I also have a big problem. Where the fuck are they going to end season 6? Or will they have a time? Will they do a time skip in the beginning of? Maybe they do a time skip of season 6 and then go back, sort of like this. And I don't know. It shall be interesting to see how they make season 6. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, we're gonna just put a pin in that one a little bit later because I don't want to run the risk of spoiling anything that's gonna happen in season 6.
Ooh, should we do like a little anime spoiler section?
We can, because aside from, again, love everything that happened with Twice, I don't have anything else really to add on this episode aside from it was fantastic. Can't wait for the next one. Anything else, guys?
It was certainly a parade to watch. It was an equation filled with a lot of emotions. That's for certain.
Anything else, Leo?
I'm just really looking forward to the last couple episodes in this. Honestly, this might be one of the best arcs in the anime period.
Oh yeah, I mean it still might be my favorite arc in the entire manga, which is crazy to think about. And a story called My Hero Academia. My favorite stories are coming from the villain arc.
Because let's be real, a good story is made by good villains.
Very true. Because a friend of mine who watched the dub, they got the first episode of NBA this week. And they were kind of confused by what was happening. I'm like, the kids are probably not going to be in the rest of the season. And they were just like, oh, that's interesting. And they got really into it. Because like, what are we going to go from here? Because over 100 episodes in, you don't really know Tomura Shigaraki. But after 2 episodes, I get it. And we haven't even gotten to the origin episode that's coming next week yet.
His dub voice a little bit weird, not going front.
Yeah, the problem with the dubs is Shigaraki's voice was fine when he first appeared in season 1. I don't think they realized how important or how big his character was going to be when they cast that voice actor to do that particular voice. And so now it's coming back to bite him. I don't know if I could sit through 7 episodes with Shigaraki talking like that.
Yeah, I'm like, I like Deku's voice. I like Bakugo. Of course, I like All Might. I mean, who doesn't like Chris Sabat, aka Piccolo Vegeta? But Shigaraki's was a little bit weird.
Again, though, it's weird because you don't notice that much because he wasn't involved in the story until this point.
Yeah, and I went back recently to the episode where he shows up in public to talk with Deku. and I was on the dub, and I was like, oh my god, his voice is just a little weird, man.
It's
Like,
a little off. I'm kind of hoping they tweak it by next season.
Yeah, same. I'm like, it's kind of got nails on the chalkboard, and maybe that's what they're like going for, like really creepy nails on chalkboard type of feel and vibe. But like, it's not working for me.
No, not at all. All for One's voice is great though.
I haven't seen the dub, so I can't speak of it honestly. Maybe I should check it
worries. I mean, yeah, if you can, might as well. A couple episodes here and there.
Yeah.
Guys, I threw up an extra spoiler tag. We want to talk about what happens in season 6. This doesn't have to be a long discussion if there's not much you guys want to add, but anime onlys, this is where you depart because it's going to get spoiler heavy. We were biting our tongue the entire time this episode because we were kind of itching to move forward. But again, Sadman's Parade, best episode of the season, one of the best stories in the entire My Hero Academia story. We'll catch you next week. Have a great holiday. Plus Ultra.
Hey, though.
So, Leo, what do you think is going to happen with season 6, or what do you want to happen? I guess.
So, since we got a like kind of flash ahead moment at the beginning of My Villain Academia when Shigaraki was being powered up, I think what's going to happen is that's going to hit by the end of this arc, and then we're going to start the next arc with the war completely. Like all that bullshitting around. Like I think season 6 is going to be all war.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, hold on, let me get the chapter. I think a good endpoint for this season would be when the league kind of takes over. It would be chapter 258. I think would be a good place to end here. That's when the league takes over the Meta Liberation Army. And then it just kind of ends with Deku narrating, saying that's the day that the heroes disappeared. And then you just pick up from the war. I think that would be really smart. But with the war, again, like I was kind of saying before, just if that's the entire season, where's the cutoff point? Is it when Deku is on his own? You just kind of end it there on a cliffhanger? That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
6?
Yeah, that's probably the best bet.
Because think about it. You have the war. You have when Bakugo, damn near sacrifices himself for him. You have them win. And then, it ends and Deku's like, I know I have to be on my own. And then, boom, season 7 is probably going to be the rest of the series. I'm assuming with where the manga's at right now, it kind of seems like we might be. What you guys think? About 50 chapters out? Like,
we're speed run. I know that for sure.
Yeah, it just seems like this has been a year, by the way, y'all. This whole fucking series has been like the course of a year. I'm still baffled. But I think we're gonna get to the end in the next 50, you guys think?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I'd say so.
Maybe they start a multiverse and make some weird time jump and have aliens come out, and so they can continue this series with about 300 more chapters.
Isaac, I get that you're random, but sometimes you're even too random for me to keep up with, man.
Let's not do 300 more chapters, though.
Because right now we're only on chapter 325. That's almost half the series, man.
Yeah. So maybe they take then 600 more chapter. He decides in the last minute he go take the One Piece challenge.
Absolutely not.
No. But I could see them do the Boruto challenge and have a new generation a sequel.
How's about the new generation just cancels itself and we can just start another Naruto series where we're back just in the ninja world, not with these goddamn aliens? Excuse me for the spoil.
Yeah,
No,
it's okay.
Yeah, sometimes I kind of wish Naruto could just hit the reset button and go back to where the toughest dude was Pain. Because Madara, they didn't know how to beat Madara because he was just unkillable because he was already dead. That's another conversation, all entirely. But I do have a question for you guys with regarding season 6 because My Hero the entire time has been 2 to 3 arcs a season. But that war arc is so long. It took over a year for the manga to complete it. And we've already established that we think the entire war arc is going to be just season 6. How do you want that to be paced out? Do you think like MVA is like 4 chapters an episode would be solid? Or I'm just trying to think about, because that's completely different pace than the entirety of the series. And so season 6 is going to feel really different.
I mean, if you want to pace that one properly, similar to how you do the arcs usually, the war arc needs to be at minimum half a season. And then I say at minimum half the season, considering how long it is.
I'm just, a smile just came on my face when I realized we can get 2 episodes of Mirko just kicking Nomu ass all day.
Oh God, that'd be so dope. No, make the whole next season the war arc. No other.
I'm with you that he should do the whole season, but I'm just thinking what's the minimum amount of episode they would need to properly
they usually have like what, 25? I think 25, even if they stretch it out to 30, that'd be fine.
Yeah, a season's 25, an arc is usually 12 for the first arc, and the last 2 arcs are usually a little shorter, like the Endeavor and MVA one this season. So, yeah, if they go the whole way, that would be the 25 eps.
Yeah, no other arcs, no BS Endeavor Agency, none of that bull crap. Get to the war arc, y'all. Get to the war arc.
No fillers, no recaps, no movie tie-ins. Just do it. As a matter of fact, I had this idea a few days ago. What if one of the movies was just set during war arc? Like it is a canon movie, and they use that to have a bigger budget, release it in theaters, blah blah blah.
Please cool. No. Please no. Please no.
You don't want to see Shigaraki versus Deku in IMAX?
Well, we don't have IMAX anywhere other than Stockholm. Lord knows when I get a cinematic release, if / when the COVID is getting relieved and all that, yeah. So please no, not a movie, at least not yet. Please no. If I knew that I could get a similar release date than you guys, then sure, but it's just a whole to be announced. Like I said before, we don't even have the 2 Heroes movie on the Wakanim right now. Or Crunchy for that matter. Both of them now owned by Sony, so who owns Funimation? Just what the fuck are you doing, Sony? Just put them there.
Sorry, I brought it up.
No problem. I'm just more mad at Sony than you, if that regard.
You're good. Was there any other?
But I think you can understand my frustration, Alafa. I think you can understand my frustration, at least.
I get you. Was there anything else we had for the anime this season or next season before we move on to this manga chapter?
I just think it's so funny how we were so bitter and skeptic about this season at the beginning, and then now we are gushing how well they are handling the villain, My Hero, My Villain Academia, even though they cut a bit much in the first episode of the arc.
Yeah, I'm still annoyed by that, but hey, this was a great episode. Last week was great. I'm cool.
Yeah. I just find it so fucking ironic if I'm being perfectly honest, but yeah, I'm cool also.
Also, I just like how the Twice episode was episode 22. 22. Twice. It's funny.
I wonder if that was on purpose.
You know, I swear if they put that filler episode in here to get that Twice joke, I'm rioting.
Oh my god. They were like, we needed to bump it one more just to get Twice in there.
That still doesn't answer the question of why they didn't do that tie-in manga chapter as that filler episode. But that's another story.
In time for them to animate it.
Or they just want to show some TNA to save budget. I don't know.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking chapter 325. We're not talking about minors and TNA. We are moving on. Chapter 325, The Bonds of One for All. This chapter picks up, of course, after chapter 224. Here, that chapter ended with Kota and Coco Bandicoot, until we get a name for this fox lady, rushing to Deku. This one starts with Mineta also wanting to run towards Deku, but Ida holds him back. Pretty much saying that the ones who saved Deku are the ones who need to be there for him in this moment, not just his classmates. Y'all, I know we've been saying this all year, especially these last few chapters, but dang, Kota crying and telling Deku, I am here so you don't have to cry anymore. Ooh, that got me. That got me. He knew to use All Might's words.
Yeah.
This chapter, though, is...
Okay.
No, I was just going to say this chapter, just kind of piggybacking off of Uraraka's words, these last 3 chapters, I think. And we can even have the guy from episode 1, chapter 1, kind of explaining how civilians need to kind of step up, essentially, and be more empathetic towards the heroes. He even says that they watched All Might like he was a performer, but they never noticed the man behind the symbol. They never really saw him as human. And again, when we first met this guy, the guy with the stars on his head, that's pretty much what was happening. He and Deku were watching villains and heroes fight at the beginning of the series. And they were just cheering and laughing and taking notes and blah, blah, blah. But she never really thought about All Might as a person. And that's what, again, going back to episode 1, going back to chapter 1, is what's so great about My Hero Academia, because we kind of set up All Might as this Superman-like figure, and then we immediately deconstruct him and break him down and show how he's weak and fearful. But then Deku leaping to save Bakugo kind of re-sparked that hero inside of All Might, and now he's going to fight to the bitter end. I love that tie-in with that guy from chapter 1, with Kota saying the words, I am here, to Coco Bandicoot calling Deku her crybaby hero. Just so good.
Did you just say Coco Bandicoot? I'm dead, bro.
We don't have a name for her. That's what I'm going with until we get one.
So safe bet.
I mean, it fits. Sure. I mean, it fits. In lack of better names.
What were you gonna say, Leo?
Yeah, I really like this chapter. I think that it really brings it back around to Deku being the number 1 hero. Mm-hmm. And what's so unique about it this time is that it was even pointed out by Endeavor, or was it one of the characters speaking with Endeavor? Somebody in that situation, it might have been Hawks, who talked about specifically about One for All and how it bonds the people around it. And it brought All Might to Deku, and it brought Deku to Class 1A. And I'm just like, dude, this is this is what this ability is all about. And honestly,
Yeah.
I love that like people that Deku saved vouched for him. Enough for people to be like, well, maybe he needs a little place to stay, y'all. Like, let us quit complaining for a minute. But really, really great episode or great chapter, excuse me. And it does feel on the cusp of ending. Like it feels like we're kind of getting to the end here.
It feels like we're gonna get into one more battle, right?
Yeah. I'm guys, so is it Ultimate Shigaraki or is All for One back? What do y'all think?
This is where I'm kind of warring. A little bit of both. This is where I'm warring though, because like if the series is ending, like you say in like the next few chapters, next 40, 45, 50, it has to be All for One, because we're gonna have to. We established Shigaraki too much as a main player in this series to just revert back to him instantly. If the series is gonna go 75 chapters, I'd say Shigaraki, because we want Shigaraki. We want to see him overcome All for One. We want to see him beat him. And the problem is, if he beats him, Deku has already established that he wants to save Tenko. For that to work, to redeem a character like Tomoru Shigaraki, I feel like it's going to take another year, almost really, of manga content, because we just got Deku back at UA. We spent the last, 4 chapters outside of UA just trying to get him to go inside. So at the current pace we're going, we still have to wrap up Dabi. We still have to wrap up All for One and whatever's happening with All Might. We have to, for this to end in a satisfying way, I feel like it's going to have to be longer. But at the pace we're going, I feel like it's just going to be All for One. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I almost think it's going to be that, yeah, All for One is like the ultimate like villain, and Shigaraki probably ends up teaming up with the heroes to take him down. Because I think Deku, that resolution to him saving Shigaraki is Shigaraki realizing that he doesn't have to be a villain, that he doesn't have to live in a world that shuns him in the League of Villains, that the world that Deku wants to build is one that could include them. And I think that'd be enough to turn Shigaraki.
And maybe Shigaraki sacrifices himself as a Darth Vader moment, so to speak, maybe. Because I don't see Shigaraki surviving this series, if I'm being completely honest.
So, hear me out. Towards the end of the series, Shigaraki's going to come to the battlefield and declare that he wants to become Hokage. Then he teams up with Deku.
Oh my god.
To take down All for One.
Oh no.
Jeez. No,
I mean, I feel like it is going to take Deku and Shigaraki together. I think All for One is like this ultimate menace that just really can't be stopped until both One for All and All for One come together.
Mm-hmm. I can see it. I just hope we don't rush it, because Vigilante Deku lasted, reading it lasted a long time, but in universe, he was only gone for like 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah, that was like barely that much, bruh. Which
makes the line of the lady calling him crybaby hero even funnier. Because reading it, it's like, what? Deku's been a badass for the last 3 months. And it's just like, no, he's still a baby. You see all the tears.
Okay, if they would have had a year time skip, wouldn't it have kind of helped out a little bit now?
Hey, I've always been with you. Time skip. It just, they didn't do it, and it's kind of frustrating because they're second years, but they've still been held back because there's no class, so they're still first years.
Have there even been a time skip in this series?
The only time skip in the series we've had was Deku training for 10 months to get into UA. That's it.
Yeah. Honestly, this series, you would expect that it would last till they were graduating, honestly.
You'd think. A part of me thinks they got held back because we want to keep Sun Eater and Ejire and Lemillion with them and their third years, so they technically would have graduated by now. And it's just, I know it's not the biggest of deals, but it's like Lemillion wouldn't be around if he graduated. Neither would Amajiki or Nejire. So it kind of makes sense to short, condensed time, essentially.
I'm still a million. So good.
So great. Leo, you mentioned Hawks, and yeah, I really loved his words here of one for all connected Deku to All Might, Class A to Deku, and blah blah blah. Uraka with the civilians here finally winning them over. I feel like we're gonna get that Toya Todoroki confrontation. You think that's gonna be next chapter?
I don't know if it's next chapter, considering when they ended it. If you really think about it, they ended focusing in on All Might. If you saw, I think that's an indication on because the chapter before, what was that? They ended on them running to Deku.
Yeah.
So I think this is next chapter is going to be an All Might chapter.
So, are you guys ready for another crazy theory of mine?
Go for it.
Let's hear it.
Last chapter, we get this random scene of Toga. No explanation whatsoever. This chapter, they talk about how they're trying to defend against Toga from infiltrating. So they have people quarantined off for extended periods of time because she eventually has to turn back to herself. Then there's this scene, like immediately after that, of All Might walking away. He's walking away from UA. Was that Toga or was that All Might?
Good point.
I definitely think that was All Might.
I just don't understand why he would be walking away from UA. And then the previous pages are talking about how they're defending against Toga infiltrating. That's just weird to me.
Good point.
Might be on to something there, my man.
It's just weird the way they had the panels set up there. Also, they all clearly heard Uraraka from outside because that's where Shoto and Endeavor are. So that means All Might hears all of this and he doesn't go inside. That's weird.
Oh my God, what if All Might's already dead, y'all?
That's a possibility. And Isaac's been on that train for the last 2 months.
I mean, I don't see him surviving in this series. I have always said it's a question of when in my book. But I don't think he's dead yet. I don't think they kill him off screen.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think the only reason for keeping him around would be so that one successor of One for All could finally see the perfect user, if you will, or the chosen user, because we've kind of established that like Midoriya is the chosen user. So it's like it would be nice to see like the last successor finally see One for All pay off. Like even if All Might died peacefully at the end after Deku saved the day, blah blah. I think I would be really happy with that.
Yeah, same.
Like it'd be like, okay, we finally one user finally got to see it like actually because think about it, every other scenario is like a user like in an emergency giving it away to the next user. It'd be nice to see like the last successor before Deku, like see him finally like defeat All for One once and for all.
That would be ideal. Perfect world. That's what I would want to see. Again, though, just the way they had that, my red flag alarm is going off the charts with this chapter. We didn't even mention this. We see Eraserhead for the first time in God knows how long. It's nice to see Aizawa with his prosthetic leg and his eye patch. He mentions that he's been talking to Kurogiri every day. Has he been talking to him every day since this past episode in the anime? Because that's crazy.
My question is about that. Do you guys think they are going to resurrect him and have him being his normal self now because of this?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
I feel like that character is too far gone. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I just think at this point the character has technically died. So right. I just don't think that's gonna happen.
I mean that a character's dying hasn't really stopped manga and anime to make them return or something. But
exactly. I guess my thing with that would be like in a normal situation, I'm with Leo. He's technically dead. He's kind of more mummified or zombified as opposed to being lost in there. That said, though, the fact they were able to speak to Shirakumo's spirit inside of Kurogiri in the first place raises so many questions that have just not been answered. So I'm not sure. I do know it would be very sappy and it might be a little cringy, but I could totally see them doing this. Eri rewinds them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sort of like help Dad out after he helped her, because let's face it, he's sort of like her dad right now, and Lemillion is his big bro.
Exactly. Like I can see them trying to pay it off there. Again, though, it all depends on like, is his soul still in there? Because he's been dead for, how old is Deku? 16? He's been dead for about 17 years. So I wouldn't think it's likely, but when you have somebody like Eri or Overhaul who can literally reconstruct or rewind something, anything can happen.
God, talk about two overpowered quirks. Like two just extremely like, imagine if they were ever like together willingly. Whew. Shigaraki, move on over, bruh, because that combo is deadly.
Yeah,
you know, it's funny because people forget Eri is the granddaughter of the head of the Yakuza. If Overhaul was just nice, right? Like that older brother that Lemillion is, he probably could have just got her to work with him on anything he wanted. That's the crazy part of all of this. It's just like she was born into that family. She could have turned out evil if they didn't save her, and she would have been probably the biggest villain in the series, which I just think harkens back to that one bad day. Kind of got lucky the heroes saved her, because she could have ended everything if she got control of that quirk and she got older.
Or imagine if she just like freaked out. Like imagine if before Deku even like got to her, what if she just flipped and just lost it, and that the whole world is done.
Yeah.
So
what you're Tenko, right?
Yeah. So what you're saying is that the sequel will be them going into the multiverse and fight a variant of Eri where she snaps and go all ballistic. So that's what you're saying.
I am the Watcher. I am your guide.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, jeez.
The worst part is I could see that happen.
You know, we joke about this a lot, but since My Hero, as Leo eloquently said earlier on that other show, My Hero is a cape shit anime. They can do all that multiverse crap, and I'll still eat it up if it makes sense. Whatever. You know?
Yeah, I'll eat it the hell up, hell.
I mean, if
I
they
can
are
end
going
My
to
Hero
go,
Academia in 10 chapters, and I'm eating each and every one alive.
yeah. I mean, if they're going the multiverse route, they might as well do Jump Force canon at that point.
Oh God, no.
Just, no. So I've mentioned this before.
I go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say
just...
that. Go on.
I was just saying. I mentioned this before. That UA barrier, something's got to happen, right? With that UA barrier, because they keep mentioning it and they keep talking about how strong it is. But I feel like as soon as Deku goes in there and goes to sleep, All for One's going to be outside. That's how it feels to me right now.
I think I think it's going to be gonna attack. I don't think it's just gonna be immediately because how should I put it? They don't have a sense bean in this universe, so he can't just eat one and then be all right, ready to go. He needs to sleep.
If they had sensu beans, All Might would still be whooping ass.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But so, in order for it to not come off as quote unquote bullshit, if they attack while he's sleeping, he needs to allow Deku to rest for a bit so he can defend them and not come off as just he was so exhausted that he could barely fall asleep and his classmate had to catch him when he tried to run away, and you expect me to believe that he's in shape to fight now against All for One or similar bad guys? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, All Might. That's long done. I kind of hope his death is like at the end. Because I feel like after Deku saves the day, after society goes back to the way it was, I think that's like a perfect, like, okay, the torch is yours. Like, I oversaw you. I kind of feel like All Might's arc ends there.
You're exactly right, because that takes us back to season 3 when he he beats All for One for the last time. In that follow-up episode, it could be a couple more after that, but in that episode, we hear All Might, and he tells Deku's mom that he is going to protect him, and he's going to make sure he becomes the best hero he can be, and he even tells All for One, I'm going to be by his side till he becomes the number one hero, essentially, right? And as we know, in anime, when one of your main characters makes a declaration like that, it usually has to come true, right? There has to be some sort of payoff to it. And I feel like we're too late in the game to kill off All Might until, like you said, Leo, until we get to the end of the series, everything's finished, everything's done. Now he can die peacefully, or at least just retire. Like, he's only working at UA to watch Deku anyway. He's not even a good teacher. He should just retire.
I mean, he can be a spokesperson and sort of like how to market yourself or something. He's good at that.
Yeah, he's gonna have
if he survives. That is.
Hoping he survives. I don't need death in a story. Death doesn't make a story good. Look at Avatar.
No.
That doesn't equal good. Is all I'm saying.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that death equal good all the time. I'm just saying that I stand by the fact that I think that next time they are talking to each other, it's gonna be through him being a Force ghost.
I hope not, but We'll see. Leo, I see you've dropped in the chat the question, should we get an All Might one-shot? Yes. Yes, we should. I've been saying that since the first movie, where we kind of had that flashback to him and David Shield.
I say no, give us an OVA instead.
Well, we got like a 5-minute OVA, I think, of when Nana passed on, when Nana was killed by All for One. They made that an OVA. And
I mean,
that was great.
There is you can do an other ways. I mean, there is prequels or spin-offs away for Attack on Titan, so why not do something similar for All Might?
Whatever it takes. The point is, I want to see more of All Might's backstory, because that Nana Shimura OVA was fantastic, and I feel like we don't get enough Chris Sabat as strong All Might. I miss his voice like this, you know? He's just been very calm because he can't do it anymore.
Right. Imagine if we got like 5 episodes and it was the passing of the power. Then we got like an episode kind of similar to what we got in the first movie. Then we got an episode where he was kind of like middle of his career. Then an episode where he confronted All for One. And then the episode that led up to My Hero Academia episode 1, but from his perspective. Like that.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's the filler I want, man.
I mean, imagine if they just like
stories.
Imagine they just dropped that between seasons. Just like, oh, here's a little tease for you before we get to season 6. Like, okay, All Might guy Dan, I'm down.
That's the kind of stuff I want them. Like, imagine if that was just like, instead of whatever this third movie is, imagine if that was just the movie. That's what I want for My Hero Academia, because there's just so much stuff there. Or like Aizawa has his entire story in Vigilantes, and we touched on it a couple episodes back. Why not make that an OVA, right? Where you follow Aizawa in his
They haven't done a spin-off anime for Vigilantes, right?
No, sir.
That is surprising, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and people really like Vigilantes. I'm surprised they haven't animated that. At least, again, Aizawa's story that's in Vigilantes, because he's a major character there. But yeah, those All Might OVAs or filler episodes, whatever you want to call them, I like that idea. I really want to see it. And it also could just be All Might telling Deku the story, because when we meet him in episode 1, or might be episode 2, he says that he lost his stomach in a fight that people haven't heard of. We assume that's his fight with All for One. I want to see that fight. We just never mentioned that again. I want to see that fight.
Right. Like, I want to see how brutal that shit got.
It got bad enough for his guts to spill out, most likely.
Jeez, literally. I mean, yo, that United States of Smash was so legendary. Like, if we see some shit like that, young All Might, like, imagine, okay, so I could see it a scenario like this. He actually is beating All for One, but because of his youth, he like overlooks something and All for One gets the upper hand. And that's how the stomach thing happened.
Yeah. Very, very possible. That makes sense.
Because he seems so... my fault. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He seemed like he had such a good handle on One for All. Like, from the beginning when he got it all the way up till he gave it to Deku, I was just like, damn, this dude, he just seemed like a master of it. So it would make sense for him to kind of feel so talented that he overlooks something in a battle.
I can see that. Like, even in episode 1, where we meet him, he beats that sludge villain, saves Deku, but doesn't realize Deku's holding on to his leg as he jumps through the sky. And he's trying to kick Deku off of him, and Deku's like, if you do, I'll die. And he's like, oh yeah, good point. And it's just like, something I could see All Might not being that attentive sometimes. He didn't even notice this kid was holding on to him as he's leaping through the sky.
Yep.
I wanted to bring up one last thing because we've been talking about Deku's dad, right, and where he's been. And I just had this.
Yeah.
My sister had this funny idea. Deku's been narrating this entire story, telling us this is how he becomes the number one hero. Imagine the last chapter. Deku's dad just walks to the door. He's like, "So I hear you went to UA." He's like, "Tell me about that, son." Boom. That's where the loop starts.
That would be kind of fucking funny at this point.
I mean, it's only been a year, guys.
Exactly.
Like, if he comes to the door and he's like, "All right, back from my year excursion," like, it's not that far out.
Yeah, it's like I had to do a year-long whatever in the United States. It's just like he's back now. That's why we haven't seen him that much. No, but it's like it makes sense. It's like, well, if Deku's telling the story, it's going to be the most detailed telling of the story ever. So of course that's what's happening. He's just telling his dad what happened.
Or maybe tells his grandchildren. So they can have a sequel.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, great. So the ending of the series will be like, and that's how I met your mother.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's Uraraka.
No, it's Asui. That's the major loop right there.
It's who?
I said it's Asui. That would throw everybody for a loop.
Oh, God.
That's all I got here, guys, for this chapter and anime episode. Anything else?
No, just only that it's just clear that they're going into the multiverse equations.
My multiverse of madness, academia.
Mike over here shipping Suyu and Deku.
Hey, I'm just saying, the hair. That's it.
You know Uraraka his girl.
This was on.
I know that. You know that. I don't think Deku knows that.
For real, Deku has no clue.
Clueless boy.
Both are rather clueless in my book. But that's an understatement.
As the great Maz Kanata said, that's a story for another time. Guys, you can catch the podcast over on Twitter, Amateur Otaku Pod. Also, thanks for joining us here on YouTube. We're here every single week with My Hero Academia, even after the anime ends in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. Isaac, what you got coming up, bruh?
Well, I'm almost done with writing My Hero. I have the Monster Hunter review pretty much done. I'm gonna send it in to check out. I'm finishing Near the World Ends with You, and I'm sort of like on the last. I think I'm on the. No, I am at the final stage, so to speak. Then I have to review that, and I have Ace Attorney review waiting to get reviewed, so to speak, before published. And I also gonna write a review for Horimiya, and next month I'm doing Metroid Prime 5, so that shall be interesting. And there is some hopefully me and Brandon is going to cover Eden Zero soon.
Ooh, nice. But why do you write like you're running out of time? Sorry, Hamilton reference. Moving on.
Yeah, I don't write like I'm out of time. It's just so much going on at the same time.
You're good. I just felt like quoting Hamilton. It was unprompted. We can find you at Emblemaniac, right?
Yeah, and you quote Hamilton as much as I'm doing some random statements overall, so it's all good.
I don't think I quote Hamilton that often, but no. Leo, what about you, man? What you got coming up this week?
So coming up this week, we've got a review for Malignant. Whenever I can get the chance to watch that, And also for Kate, coming up on Netflix. And then I will have a reaction up for Titans and What If. So come on over to the channel, youtube.com/Geekly Goods, y'all. We'll be waiting.
Dude, that last episode of What If, that Doctor Strange one. Ooh.
Oh, unreal.
I haven't seen
That
a single
might
one of
be-
the What Ifs, honestly.
Isaac, just watch the Doctor Strange one. They don't connect really yet. But that Doctor Strange episode might be one of the best stories in the entire MCU. Dude, can't wait for the next one.
Just
You
for
guys
reference,
can-
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to until every episode is done. I'm not gonna skip it. I'm just waiting to so I can binge watch it.
Yeah, cool. I get it. There's what, like 4 or 5 left, I think, something like that. Not too long of a wait.
Yeah.
You guys can find me at Novice Cinephile on Twitter and YouTube this week. More Fooly Cooley. So stay tuned for that reaction. Also,
Lunchtime!
Yes, sir. We eating good this week. Also, writing for Collider.com, I have a post called 9 Shows to Watch After Avatar The Last Airbender. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be on my Twitter and on Collider.com.
At last.
At last what, sir?
Yeah, at last. Or should I say,
Oh,
at last?
Okay. More bad puns. Guys, we're going to spare you more of Isaac's bad puns. We're just going to end the show there.
They
We'll
are
catch you
used to
next-
it by now.
Yeah, I mean, if you stuck with the Amateur Otaku this long, you are used to Isaac's puns. He's actually been very subdued this entire run for My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't have a Brandon to torture. Maybe that's why.
That's okay. That's what it is. You can also find Brandon somewhere. In the Scarlet Fan 52, I believe, is his handle. Correct?
Yeah, that's the name.
You can find him. He'll be here from time to time as well, doing reviews with Isaac. We'll catch you next week for episode 23 and chapter 326. Guys, have anything else before we sign off?
Nope, good over here.
Well, if you have anything you want us to cover, just leave a comment down below or tweet at us at the Twitter handle. Or let me check one thing. Brandon asked me to point this one out, or email us at what is our email now again? The amateurotaku rtf.gmail.com.
We're going to make sure Isaac puts that in the description because I'm not going to remember that. And I know you guys probably won't either. We'll get that in the description for you guys so you can just click the link there. We'll catch you next week. Go Beyond plus Ultra.
Hej då.